Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on exploring the AI frontier, integrating the AI with business, with Dynamics 365 Business Central. Today, we'll have two speakers in this webinar, myself, Lina Schneideris, and Steven Renders. We'll give a short introductions when we will start each of our part. And I will start my part talking a little bit more about what is happening in the Dynamics ecosystem. What is, of course, the AI is a big trend, what is happening there. And Stephen will practically show what's possible, what you can kind of practically use. And an important thing before starting that this webinar is being recorded, and in roughly a week's period, we'll have that recording available for you or your colleagues if someone was not able to kind of join in and participate, available on YouTube. So we'll share the link to all the participants to the recording, and if you kind of want to have a look at certain parts of the webinar, or if you want to share that with the other colleagues of yours, please do that. Now, let's get it started. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Linas Schneideris. I'm VP of Technical Services and a board member at Companio. How I like to introduce myself: I'm a physicist who, for more than a decade, was working as a management consultant, and with the current mission to help the 365 and Power Platform partners to do business and grow. Before Companion, I spent 14 years in EY, Ernst & Young, where I was leading the technology consulting practice, and I had a chance to work with many different industries you can see here on the slide, and as well in many different countries, including the Western Europe, Luxembourg, Germany, then spent some part of my career more to the east, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Croatia, Cyprus, spent part of my career as well, of my professional life in Middle East, working on projects in UAE, Oman, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and had a chance to lead a few projects financed by the World Bank on the government cloud topic in Ghana and Hong Kong. So this is who I am, and I would like to start my part with introducing you with the context in which we are. And in order to do that, guys, I will show you a video which will illustrate how certain things were looking previously and how they look like now. So how changes are happening around us. Let us start with that. So here you can see how the classic party looked like. Now a modern party is a little bit different, right? This is how classic movie fights looked like. It was one long shot. A modern movie fight is different, right? Compared to that. And fitness, some time ago, it was a little bit different, right? Now fitness is much faster. And traveling was a journey. Even children were raised in the meantime. Compared to that, traveling is now like a blink of an eye. And writing was an art. You needed to master the calligraphy. Is that writing at all? That's a good question, right? And commercials were about a product. This commercial was not about a product. So, guys, everything is happening faster. And the key thing that is changing is the speed of change. And you can see here regular people doing a regular work in irregular speed, which is simply not sustainable. If we will continue doing that, like you see here on the screen, that will simply be not sustainable. Let's have a look. So a key thing that is happening now, that the speed of change is bigger than we could have imagined or what we have seen before. The key thing that is changing is the speed of change is ever increasing, right? And that creates impact to every industry, but every industry is impacted differently. That creates in total a shortfall of more than 4 million developers. More than 750 million more applications will be created in the next 3 years than in the last 35 days. That's how much on average it takes for a new technology to reach a critical mass of 50 million users, right? You have seen most probably how the ChatGPT spread in 2 months, having more than 100 million users, right? Unbelievable. At the same time, the whole organizational model is being impacted from strategy, marketing, sales, operations, finance, ecosystem, everything. 88% of companies struggle to hire tech talent. And all of that creates a lot of different threats. Or on the other hand, if you are able to observe these changes happening on the timely basis, at the right time, and if you are able to take an action, then basically that creates a lot of new opportunities, right? And let's have a look at the interesting statistics, what you can see here on the right of the slide. 52% of the organizations from the year 2000 have disappeared from Fortune 500 due to not being able to adjust to the changes happening around us. So more than half of the organizations are not there anymore because simply they were not able to adjust to the changing environment, right? Now, let's have a look more specifically at what is happening in the BizApps area in the dynamics, right? So there's still roughly 160,000 customers worldwide who are using NAV BC on premises, and only 20,000 customers worldwide use BC online. There's still 15,000 customers worldwide using AX FSCM on premises, and only 5,000 customers worldwide using FSCM online. Of course, these numbers are indicative. No one has kind of very precisely calculated that because it's simply impossible. It's very indicative, but still the key message is that we have a huge on-prem install base, and in order to migrate that, who will do that? How many years that will take? If we will continue based on the speed we are now continuing, that will take a lot of different years. So we need to think out of the box and find the new methods how we can kind of tackle that challenge we have. Now, 79% of managers are seeing the increased prompt citizen developer collaboration. We are seeing that. I hope that you are seeing that as well. MCPP, another big thing, what is happening, right? It has been just released, and we all need to get used to that to kind of understand the criteria, new definitions, partner designation, specializations, all of these things. And at the same time, just recently 4 new specializations for BizApps have been announced, right? We need kind of to get used to that. We need to kind of make an effort to get these specializations, but at the same time, that creates an opportunity to differentiate yourself among others. 85% of the employees prefer an employer that upskills them, and at the same time, we are all facing resource shortage, which creates difficulties in meeting deadlines and customer expectations. Evergreening, that's a completely new set of different challenges, right? Because that requires upskilling, investments into the automation in order to make that sustainable. And of course, there are many more changes that is happening, which we are not able to cover in such a short period of time. But if you will keep your lights on, you will monitor and you will kind of identify them. Now, let's look in more detail at a few of the more important changes happening, which are creating a lot of different challenges to you. And first of all, let's kind of decompose the evergreening, right? Let's have a more in-depth look at evergreening, and let's start with a rhetorical question. Is it just a more frequent upgrade? And of course, the answer is that it's not just that. That has a much bigger implications. And to understand that, let's have a look at the capacity challenge. And now, looking at the capacity challenge, let's make an assumption that the capacity is fixed in time and is illustrated by this line on the slide. Now, life goes on, time goes on and you have implementation projects which you take on and which have a variable demand and time. Then you have some free capacity in some points of time. You simply take on executing some upgrades, which slightly evens out the capacity demand and brings it closer to the capacity supply. And then with the customers being in the cloud, the evergreening becomes relevant to you, right? And you start with a small install base of customers in the cloud, then a bigger part of your customer base kind of with time getting there to the cloud, and the capacity required for evergreening increases with time, which kind of brings a lot of new challenges which you have not experienced before, because simply the demand capacity demand kind of have a different profile, right? And addressing this challenge requires you to invest into upskilling, into the infrastructure, and to have kind of the required tools in place to kind of automate all of these processes, like automated tests, CI pipelines, kind of continuous integration development pipelines, and all other tools which kind of enable you to do that in a very sustainable way, where you can kind of automate part of the process, where you can kind of reduce the capacity demand, right? So that creates a lot of challenges. At the same time, if you are able to do that kind of on timely basis, that might create you a lot of new opportunities what you can take on. And now let's move to another change what is happening, and the core topic of ours for today, AI and low code. These are so-called the future things, right? And one interesting fact what is stated here on the slide, that the percentage of the world's data produced by generative AI will jump from under 1% in 2021 to around 10% in 2025, right? And of course, that will create a set of new challenges, but at the same time, a set of new different opportunities. More than 65% of the application development activity will be low code by 2024. So this is, of course, the statement from Microsoft, what we have kind of taken on. It might sound that 2024 is kind of very close and that it is unrealistic, but actually, if you would kind of look broader, not only in your activities, but in everything what is being done by the citizen developers, and take kind of into account that the application development activity overall is expanding. It's not only what you are doing in your business, and most probably that will not be 65% in your business, but overall, that is a huge change what is happening, and that will have its own implications, right? Now, let's have a look at the timeline of AI announcements and what we have seen in the few recent months. Can you imagine how much has been done just in a few months? Unbelievable. The speed of change is crazy. And based on that, what we have heard a few weeks ago in Redmond, there is much more to come. You can see actually here that the timeline is until March, right? And in May, during Microsoft Build, there was plenty of new things announced. Power BI Copilot, Power Pages Copilot. So kind of Copilot extensibility. There are a number of different changes has been announced. So kind of that timeline illustrates just a small part of all of these announcements. And you can see how much has been done for the last few I would say most probably how much have been announced, not has been done for the last few months. And there is a rumor that actually the total kind of investment into the supercomputer to run the AI workloads or large language model workloads has exceeded more than 1 billion euros. So basically, unbelievable amount of shared memory together with the GPU units have been bundled together to have a required computing power to run the large language models. Because of that, now kind of the say is that 95% of the world's large language model workloads run on Azure. Due to that, and of course, due to the fact that there were huge investments from Microsoft before, the kind of the say is that we have 2 to 3 years of the advantage compared to others, which we need to capitalize in the upcoming periods. Now, the world is crazy about the potential of large language models, and you can see it illustrated here. ChatGPT powered by large language models have passed a number of exams, which for a regular person would be a huge challenge to in a short period of time. And media is stating that Microsoft's big bet on AI ensures the domination in the world, right? So no other biz apps company is even close to Microsoft and have a close cooperation with OpenAI. Charles Lamana, when we met him a few weeks ago, he kind of told that he has already kind of submitted his order to get additional GPUs to run the AI workloads on Dynamics. And most probably have seen what is happening with the stocks of NVIDIA, right? So evidently there is a huge shortage of GPUs, and the ones who were kind of on time to get in the train, these will have additional competitive advantage, which they will be able to capitalize in the upcoming period. So that is pretty good news for us. Now, a seismic shift is happening, and previously the statement was a software is eating the world. Now a new statement is that AI will eat the software, and that will create, of course, a lot of new changes. First of all, the existing software products will be turbocharged. And when I'm talking about the existing software products, I have in mind like ERP or CRM solutions, right? Which we are all using. These will be turbocharged with AI, and new AI first products will emerge like Viva Sales or Copilots. And Charles compared that with mobile apps then when they first appeared. For example, an Uber application most probably would not have emerged as the desktop application because simply that requires a completely different use case, right? So we'll see something similar with AI first products being introduced, and that will create a lot of new opportunities for us to kind of have a different type of applications which we have not seen before. Now let's have a look at how the existing software products, legacy products like ERP or CRM will be turbocharged by AI. So first of all, the guidance and help will be reimagined. So just imagine that instead of kind of going to docs.microsoft.com, you will be able to simply ask a question and get a guidance how to do one or another thing. Or instead of kind of doing the full configuration of the solution when you are implementing it, you will be able to simply get the questions from the AI. You will answer these questions, and then the configuration will happen in the background. Then the reports, how we are consuming reports, that will change. Instead of using static reports more and more, we will use on-demand generated reports. Simply we'll be able to ask a question, what is the latest status of our outstanding payments? And you will get an answer to that. We'll have a different level of automation, which basically will be enabled by AI. And the traditional processes like time reporting, expense reporting, that will change completely. That will be reimagined. So simply AI will enable us to do that in the different way. And Charles said that kind of in the future, we might not need to submit time reports or expense reports anymore. That should kind of happen by itself. And of course, that will create new opportunities on the intelligence side. And someone who might already seen the Microsoft Supply Chain Center might be aware of the use case where simply AI is monitoring the news portals, identifying the relevant events. Let's say the flooding is happening in the north of Italy, then system is able to identify that event, is able to identify which suppliers are there in that specific region where the flooding is happening, what are the outstanding purchase orders for these suppliers, and then simply suggest an action to reach out to these suppliers to check if there will be a delay for the items which have been ordered. And even more to generate you the email templates to kind of reach out to them. So the say is that there will be a Copilot for every line of business, and you can see here on the slide what is currently officially announced, but there is much more to come in the near future. Everyone in the Redmond is kind of working on that, and this is a priority number one, what we are hearing from Microsoft. Now let's have a look at the Power Platform. You can see that in Power Platform, AI has been infused already there from 2015, and you can see that in the latest versions, the kind of more and more features are being introduced, so the speed of change is definitely increasing. And you can see here the copilots which have been announced. So basically every product now has a copilot, and every product will have AI infused in it. And you can see from even my presentation that, yes, there is a huge hype, but human beings tend to overestimate the things in the near term and underestimate them in the longer term. And let's have a look at a few examples. 1943, Thomas Watson. I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers. 1977, Ken Olsen. There is no reason for an individual to have a computer in their home. 1998, touchscreen e-readers will never catch on. Bill Gates. And Paul Krugman, 1998, the growth of the internet will slow drastically. Most people have nothing to say to each other. By 2005 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machines. And yes, there are risks associated with that, right? But the usage of generative AI in Dynamics and Power Platform is intentionally called Copilot. It's not the autopilot. So you should look at this nothing more as kind of a productivity improvement tool, which kind of helps you, but you do certain things. You are in a driver's seat. You are making the decisions by getting just an advice from the Copilot. So that's how you should look at it. And of course, there is a lot of work being done from Microsoft side on the AI grounding, on the prompt engineering to kind of improve the reliability of these models, and that will continue, right? And that's how we'll be able to kind of manage the risks associated with that. Now, you can see here the timeline that, it has not all started just yesterday. The scientific papers on neural networks were available there 20 years ago, right? And generative AI was already there in 2021, right? So, that is a result of the work which has been continuing for many years, and now we are just seeing these results, right? So what has been announced in the last few months, that's huge, but that is not something what has been done in the last few months. Everyone was working on that for many years already. And from 2021 until 2023, 2 years, what we are aware that Microsoft was working to kind of make these large language models enterprise grade, improving the grounding, improving the prompt engineering part, kind of making from the architecture point, security and privacy there, that, the large language model would not use your content you are providing to that for learning purposes, that, for example, someone else will not get your confidential data as an answer. So a lot has been done through these years in order to kind of have the results we are seeing now. And how do I start that practically? First of all, my recommendation would be to do a pilot with GitHub Copilot, to kind of increase the developers' productivity and understand how you can use that on daily basis in your Dynamics practice. Do a pilot with Viva Sales as well to increase the productivity of your salespeople. If you want to infuse AI to your products, then upskill yourself in the OpenAI API on Microsoft, or in more general on the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. And of course, then engage the whole team of yours to identify the potential use cases where you can use that, right? So when we are facing such a pace of change, where we are all kind of see the speed is increasing at an enormous rate, there is a good news. The pace of innovation at Microsoft is unbelievable, and this is a statement of very recognized futurist Daniel Newman, who is surprised himself about that. And another good news, guys, to share with you: for every dollar Microsoft is generating, partner ecosystem is generating 10 more, and you can see the direction that is increasing. So that's another good news. And the last good news is that Dynamics is growing like hell. You can see that Dynamics is growing year over year 29%. And you remember the previous slide that every dollar generated is kind of creating $10 for partner ecosystem. So that is a good place to be. Another thing is that generative AI will generate roughly $54 billion dollars of additional total addressable market by 2028. So that will create a lot of new opportunities as well. So congratulations, guys, with making a good decision to be in a good place at a good time. And I would like to finish my part and give word to my colleague, Stephen, with a quote of Charles Lamana. Now, every company needs to have a roadmap to AI, and the best company to do it with is Microsoft and its partners. Begin your AI journey now, and good luck with that. Thank you, guys, for your attention. And Stephen, you can take over and continue.
Thank you, Rinas. Let me start by sharing my screen. All right, just to double check, everyone can see it.
Yes, we can.
All right, super.
All good.
Thank you, Rinas, for your introduction to very interesting about what's happening with AI in the world. I'm here to provide a number of demos where we can already start to play and test around with what Copilot has to offer for different products. I'm going to start with what we can currently do with Copilot in Business Central, but I think a lot more is also coming in the near future. I'm also going to do a demo about how we can use Copilot and GitHub in Visual Studio Code when we do development in AL language. And then some very interesting stuff which was also announced, Copilot for Power BI, which actually already today has some very interesting features we can start to use. And then Microsoft Fabric, which was also announced very recently, which I personally think can have a very great impact on Copilot. After that, we have a call to action, and we'll also do a Q&A, questions and answers. And in the meantime, during the presentations, if you have any questions, you can already enter them in the chat. We'll come back to those later. All right, my name is Steven Renders from Belgium. I work at Plataan, which is also a part of Companionable. I'm an MVP, a trainer, a consultant, and I spent most of my time working with our product Business Central Booster, an online learning program, where I provide new content, update content, and try to help all of the participants who are going over the different courses. All right, let's start with the first topic, Copilot and Business Central. Now, Copilot in Business Central was introduced recently. At this moment, it has kind of a limited functionality, but let's dive into it and see what we can already do. And Copilot in Business Central has been introduced to use artificial intelligence to create marketing texts using Copilot technology. So basically, it means that in Business Central, Copilot is available right now on item cards in Business Central. On the item card, what you can do is, for example, create a new item, upload a few pictures and some extra, let's say, attributes about these pictures, and then Copilot can be used to generate engaging and creative text. It will do that based on the attributes and, of course, also the picture of the item. You can review that text and then you can publish it if you would like to use it or completely recreate it. I'm going to do a demo also in a few moments, but interesting to know is why and how this AI-generated text is generated. So it can help you to reduce your time to market if you would like to not spend a lot of time thinking about which text to generate for items, overcome writer's block. Enhances creativity, engagement, also makes sure that your item descriptions are more consistent. But keep in mind, human review is always necessary and required once the text has been generated, of course. A few limitations at this moment, which might change in the future. First is that the generated text suggestions are in English only at the moment. And Copilot is only supported in Business Central SaaS, Business Central Online. The technology which is being used behind the scenes is Azure OpenAI, but it's Microsoft's Azure OpenAI. So it's not supported through connections to your own Azure OpenAI service or your own Azure subscription. You don't need that. It's using Microsoft's subscription. Also at this moment, which I hope will change quite soon, partner extensibility is not yet supported. So we have Copilot in Business Central. If you analyze the code, you can try to find out which code and code units are being used, but it's not yet ready for extensibility. So we can't plug into that yet. In the future, once that becomes possible, it can become really, really interesting. If you'd like to try it out yourself and would like to get started, then what you need is a latest and greatest version of Business Central, so version 22. That's the environment in which Copilot is enabled. You can very easily go to your admin center and create a new environment or set up a new sandbox version 22. And if you're not yet in Business Central Online or Business Central SaaS, you can very easily also sign up for a free trial, which is really easy to set up. And then in about 10 minutes, you will be up and running. Once you have your Business Central environment set up, you need to enable the Copilot AI-powered feature by going into feature management and simply enabling it in that environment. Also a very interesting way to simply try it out on a sandbox and, for example, not enable it on a production environment. You can completely test out everything. Once you do that, then you have to go to the Copilot screen in Business Central and very simply acknowledge and activate the feature. All right, that's all very interesting. Let's now do a quick demo. So I will go to an environment that I have prepared, which is basically here in Business Central. And the first thing that you need to do in Business Central is you go to the feature management page, and then we can enable this feature, which actually I have already done. Once you do that, look for the Copilot feature in the search. So you simply do a search for Copilot, in which you will get this splash screen, which you then have to accept, and then you can simply continue. Once accepted, if you go back to the screen, you can simply open and close it again. But that's it. That's all that you need to do to be able to get started. Of course, make sure you have a SaaS and a version 22 or later environments. Next, to start to play around with the feature, simply go to the item list for which you open an existing item card or you create a new item. And what you will then see here at the right bottom is a new, let's say, fact box called marketing text, where you can get started. There are a few buttons available. The first thing that we will do is simply create marketing text with Copilot. But before that, notice that this item here already has a picture, and there is some metadata available about the item and also a number of attributes that have been entered. So what I can then do is click on the Create with Autopilot button. Wait a few seconds, and we see the text being created. Voilà. So this is actually something that happened quite automatically. Take a seat in the timeless Paris guest chair. Your style will never be outdated, and so on. It's a suggestion by Copilot. I can, of course, click on the Edit button, and then that screen will open. And here we can see a few settings that were used to generate that text. And we can change that. So there are a few options that we have available here. What needs to be generated. You can try out the different features. There are a few more settings that we can also choose. The emphasize the quality, the tone of the voice, the format, and the length. So by changing these settings, we can basically get a different text which is being generated. We can review that text if you would like to. And if you're happy with it, you can also click on the OK button. I can also very strongly suggest to review the text and also say if you're happy with it or if you're not happy with it. Also, if you're generating different texts, that will help also to improve the algorithm and the data model here behind it. Again, I think about the limitations, English only at the moment, and you have to verify. But I think in the future, if this could also be, let's say, extended to be used in other languages, can really become exciting. It's also the very first introduction of Copilot in Business Central that we have right now. And I'm really excited to see what might also happen in the future. At some conferences recently, I talked to a few people from Microsoft. I heard the ideas that they have right now to do with Copilot, and I think that there are some really exciting things going. And also, don't think about Copilot in Business Central. Also, think about Copilot in the Power Platform, how that could be combined with Business Central data. All right. Besides that, for developers, also very exciting times. Once the code units will be exposed, we'll be able to do our own thing and use those as interfaces to the open AI behind it. All right. So what can developers in Business Central already do? Well, there is Copilot and in combination with GitHub. Copilot and GitHub for Visual Studio Code actually can help you when you are writing code to do kind of an autocomplete mechanism in Visual Studio Code and provide you with some suggestions as you program. To start with it, the first thing that you need to do, of course, is you need to have a GitHub account. And in your GitHub account, you need to have an active Copilot subscription. And so if you go to github.com and to your account, you can activate Copilot to be able to make use of that in Visual Studio Code. Once you do that, then in your Visual Studio Code, you need to activate the GitHub Copilot plugin, and you look for it, click, and it will be ready to use. From then on, Copilot should normally be able to provide you some suggestions. How does it work? I'm going to demo it, of course, in a few seconds. But while you're typing, while you're programming, if there is a suggestion that comes in and you would like to accept it, press Tab. If you don't like it, press Escape. It's as simple as that. And something else is also very interesting. For example, in the code units, you can start to write some comments about what it is you would like to program or which procedure you would like to generate. And then if you're lucky, Copilot will make a very interesting and good suggestion. So also very exciting. In the Visual Studio Code at the bottom, what you're also going to notice is there is a status icon about Copilot. You can click on it to disable, but you can also check to see that icon sometimes changes when Copilot is thinking and generating some interesting code. All right, let's dive into it instead of simply talking about it in slides. So I have already done my preparation. So very quickly, if I go to my GitHub, you can see I have GitHub Copilot enabled. And which is also very interesting, is that you can allow GitHub to use your code snippets for product improvements. So the more code that you have on there, the better the suggestions will be, of course. All right. Then I will go here into Visual Studio Code. I have already prepared a few objects, table pages, a code unit, and a report. And okay, I'm simply creating a new table from scratch. And as you do so, here I've already added a few fields. If I go to the next line, what we're going to notice is that Copilot starts to think. And I have basically added a code field, a description field, and a table with the very good name, my table. Well, what we can see is that Copilot now suggests a new field, amount, data type decimal, with a data classification property, a caption property. Why? Because I also have these two properties in the other field. So depending on what you have done, there comes a suggestion. And yes, well, it would be interesting to add that amount field in here. If I would like to accept it, well, I'll simply press the tab button, and voila, my new field is available. Okay, it also works in reports. If I would like to add a column, for example, I might get a suggestion. Depends a little bit on what we're doing. Here right now is not feeling on doing that. If I go to a page, Voilà, it should also happen. So overlap here. He's asking me to add a quantity field in this page. Now, you need to be careful with these suggestions because it seems like a very interesting suggestion to add a quantity field to this page, which I have built around my table. But in my table, I don't have the quantity field. So don't blindly accept these suggestions. You should still know what you are doing. Now, what I really find interesting is that when you're programming and you are creating some procedures, you can create a few functions. So what I have already done here is, let me simply delete some code. 1 second. Voilà. So I have a test code unit and then a procedure to calculate the sum of two integers and that I've generated. But what I can also do, for example, now is start to type a common, and let's add a procedure to, let's say, calculate the products of two, let's say, decimals. And now I'm going to hit enter, and Copilot, okay, suggests me the procedure. I'm simply going to press on tab right now. And then the rest of the code is basically also auto-generated, and I did not have to type much. Actually, this here was also auto-generated. And that I think really has an added value. Okay, these are some very simple and basic examples for the purpose of a demo. But you can imagine, you can say, okay, I would like to program a procedure in a table, return this or that value, or do this or do that. Well, you can simply type it in natural language in the comments, and then code will be generated. The quality of the suggestions, of course, also depends on the code that Copilot has available to check. So the more code you have on GitHub, the better the suggestions will be, and they will also be in line with what you have programmed before. So really exciting. That already works today. Out of the box, you simply need to do activate it in GitHub, install the extension in Visual Studio Code, and you can already get it up and running. Developers I've talked to that are using it are really exciting about that. And once you start using it, you simply will not stop. I can guarantee that. All right, and it was a second short demo. The third thing I would like to talk about is Copilot and Power BI. And that has also been recently announced by Microsoft. And like Linus also explained in his previous presentation, the possibility to be able to have on-demand generated reports, insights, intelligent insights, and actionable recommendations. Well, actually, it's already kind of possible today. So Microsoft announced a next generation of AI with Copilot for Power BI. And in Power BI, actually, I should say that we could already do kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning models, or create very interesting DAX statements to do the traditional forecasting things. But right now we are actually accelerating to do a lot more exciting, let's say, predictions or analysis or insights, simply also because of the fact that in Power BI we have quite a lot of data to play from. So it all starts with the data you have available in Power BI. So what will happen in the future is that once you are in the Power BI service, you can simply describe the report you would like to have, and it will be auto-generated. In Power BI Desktop, where, for example, you create your data model, your extract, transform, and load. After that, you can create some measures. Now, DAX is not always that easy, and can benefit from having some inspiration. Well, right now in Power BI Desktop, you can use the quick measure and also type in or describe the measure you would like to have, and it will also be auto-generated for you. So that's already also available in Power BI Desktop. Tone, scope, style in Power BI, data insights are all available. This I have already, actually, I just mentioned the possibility to have these measure suggestions. A lot of these, the Copilot features that we will have available in Power BI are in preview, but if you go to the Microsoft blog, you can stay up to date. But I also have a demo that I can share. So in the future, what will happen is you describe what you would like to have. And then basically the Power BI service is going to generate reports and dashboards and insights by simply analyzing your data, which I think is really exciting. You just need to make sure that you have that data in Power BI. I can also do a demo on that because I've prepared an environment where I have some data available. So here we are in the Power BI service where I have some data sets, some reports already. But if you go, for example, to a data set in Power BI, in the Power BI service, you can already click on it and get a different view compared to what happened before. And right now, there are a few buttons available. Create a report. So I simply have a data set online. I will say auto create a report based on my data set, and let's see what happens. Power BI starts to work, starts to analyze your data model, the relationships, the measures you have in there. And after a few seconds, your report is ready and generated. Voila. So I can see some visuals. I can see some other options. Can I move that a little bit around? So what Power BI has done is, based on a few fields in my data model and a measure, it created a number of visuals and a quick summary. If you say, okay, actually, I would like to use some other measures to regenerate this report and analyze this also by country and salesperson, and you can simply change the fields that need to be used to generate the visuals, and voila, Power BI is going to regenerate and recreate the report. Exciting. So I don't have to do that by myself anymore, because as we all know, some people are very good at creating data models, but let's say less good at creating visualizations. Well, now Power BI is here to help you, and we have a few possibilities to save and export these visualizations. So really exciting and already available today based on the information and the data you have in Power BI. And in the future, of course, a lot more will be coming. So I can only suggest to already try it out and start to create some good data models and Power BI reports. All right. What I also would like to introduce you is an announcement Microsoft made recently about Microsoft Fabric. I think it's already generally available. But what is it actually about? I have not spent an enormous amount of time on that yet, simply because of the fact that it's relatively new. But Fabric is going to be an end-to-end analytics product, which is going to address every aspect of an organization's analytics needs. So basically, based on the data that you have in your organization in Business Central and also in all of your other products, you will be able to use that and harness that data by the Microsoft Fabric solution. It's an analytics platform. It is lake-centric, so your data will be stored in a lake powered by artificial intelligence, but accessible to business users and users, non-technical users, to consume the data. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist and to be able to use it because of its unified capacities. So Microsoft Fabric, if we look at it, is going to be a combination of what we already have today in Power BI. There's going to be a data factory behind it where you can do extract, transform, and load. Data activator is going to be in here. Synapse data engineering is a part of it. Seamless data science, a data warehouse, and real-time analysis. A few of the components and that we will have available in Microsoft Fabric. It's a complete analytics platform. Of course, it will start in the Power BI service, but it's also going to pop up everywhere where we're going to use Microsoft's product, Office, for example. So all of that data, all of the insights will be available there too, with some real-time analytics. Within Power BI, I should say actually Fabric, we will be able to use our natural conversational language to explain what we want, and then data flows, build pipelines will be created, functions, machine learning models, visualizations, like the visualizations we can also create today, and then based on all of the data that we have available. Not going to do a demo of Fabric, but I've provided a link, which I will also share. And if you go there, then Microsoft has prepared a very nice demo of Fabric, a video of what you'll be able to do with that. You can try for free already, get started quite quickly, and see what will happen. Now, a lot of the technology which will be a part of Microsoft Fabric already exists today, and so part of the technology is new. But what I think is one of the game changers about Microsoft Fabric is that in regards to Power BI and data lakes and Synapse and so on, there have been many, let's say, trees in the forest, but they were very difficult to see. Well, Fabric will be the umbrella. I think it will bring everything together, and that will allow us to really start to harness our data. So recently announced by Microsoft, but keep an eye on that. All right, I have maybe a few minutes left. So these were some demos I wanted to give. I also would like to call to action before we do the Q&A. So sign up for our companion newsletter to stay up to date and informed, to get the best information about the Microsoft business applications. Enroll at the Companion Academy. We have some very interesting courses and learning plans and booster trainings where you can already get started and learn how to develop in Business Central, how to use Power BI, Basic, Advanced, the Power Platform. So enroll in the Academy. You can only benefit from it. Have a look at our learning journeys for Business Central, where we are also revolutionizing the way that you learn. So you can attract the right resources, keep your resources, offer them continued learning. So I can only recommend to have a look at that. All right. And we had a limited time to demo these things. I hope it was interesting for everyone, and we were able to trigger and inspire you. And we have some time to do some Q&A. So any questions you might have, feel free to ask, and we'll try to answer.
And Steven, we have a few questions in the chat. Maybe I will quickly voice it over. So there is a question about the licensing for Microsoft Fabric. Are you aware of the licensing of Microsoft Fabric?
Yeah, I don't know it by heart. It was recently announced. So you can go to the website, and there should be some licensing information available. I can make it also available after the day or send it via email, but it should be available online. It was put on there recently. That's what I heard.
Then another question is, so to set up the Copilot and Power BI, separate license would be needed, right? That's a question. Or essential premium licenses covers it? Are you aware of that?
Not yet, because the Copilot in Power BI is not yet released. It's announced, so we have to really wait until it will be released, and then we'll also have the final licensing information. But I have already demoed the possibility to create these reports. I have used a pro trial account, but I think it also works with the free account. I have to double check. So once you have your data in Power BI and the service to auto-generate the report, I think it's a default functionality. You have to double check to make sure. Yeah.
What I can share from my side, guys, what I have heard from Charles Lamara directly, that his kind of promise was that Copilots in Dynamics will not be as a separate SKU, meaning Dynamics and Power Platform, not as a separate SKU, meaning that they will be kind of included in the existing licenses. However, M365 Copilot, that will be a separate SKU, and we will need to pay for that. So based on this, I would kind of assume, that's an assumption, kind of a disclaimer before saying it, that the Power BI Copilot will be included in standard Power BI licenses, most probably in the premium. Yeah. Then another question.
Also, there are two premium SKUs. There was the premium, let's say, full, which is the really expensive one. But there's also the premium light, which is about $20 per user per month. And most of the AI features are already available in that SKU. So that's where I would expect the Copilot also to become available.
Yes, then there was a question, Copilot is only working with GitHub or ALS with Git?
It is a GitHub feature. You have to enable it on GitHub, but they call it on GitHub, yes, at this moment.
Right. Then another question, where else we can use Copilot feature apart from items? That is related to the Business Central Copilot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right now, only on the item cards. The team in Denmark was asked to integrate Copilot. It had a limited, let's say, time and budget to do so. And so this is what they were able to do for the release 22. I know that for the next releases, they're already planning to enhance that functionality, and they're also asking input from partners on where you think it might become beneficial to have it. And I think we can expect some new features soon. But right now, only item descriptions or marketing text, yes.
Yeah, I can share from my side, guys, as well, that when I discussed with the engineering teams, basically, they said that that's priority number one, and they will be releasing many more features. They are still working on the core ERP functionality, making it better on all the products, but kind of AI workloads is one of the top priorities for them. So we'll see many more use cases being released in the short period of time. And another thing, what I have actually shared as an idea as well, with Microsoft, where copilots or AI could be kind of used. Now, partners are spending a lot of time on preparing for the demo session, creating the kind of customer-specific demo data sets, right? Kind of creating customer-specific products, taking into account the industry of the customer to kind of make the demo more compelling for the customer, right? And that could be simply generated by AI. And Microsoft, of course, I assume that they will consider what we have shared with them, and that might happen as well in the future. So I see we have more questions. Does the Fabric assist in enhancing data warehouse models based on additional data sources?
Well, yes, Fabric is actually an umbrella in which you have data warehouses, data lakes, the Synapse. So you can use that technology to create your data warehouse, and there will be some features in there to enhance it. But I see it more as an umbrella that brings everything very easily together. Yeah.
And it was already available in Synapse, so that you can kind of enhance with the external data sources, and there was plenty of the external data sources. Yeah. So that will definitely not go away, right? And that will be just more tightly integrated.
No, because one of the engines behind it is also Power Query and data flows, and there you can access data from hundreds of different data sources, which I think is really interesting from the AI and Power BI perspective. You not only get data from Business Central, but also all of the other systems that you're using. The more data, the better.
Yeah. Then there is a question from Philippe. Do you know what new AI features are planned in the future in the Business Central? So even if we would know, most probably we would not able to share. So there were discussions happening, on what could be kind of introduced there. I have as well shared one idea what I have kind of told you guys here, but I'm sure that Steven and MVP community is even more actively working on that.
I heard a few things which officially are under NDA, which I cannot share. What I can say is that I'm really enthusiastic on what is coming, and also that Microsoft is also looking for inputs. As there are also a few Yammer groups on the BCID's website where you can also provide some input, and they will listen to that. I think what they're thinking about, they have the technology, they have the power. Now they need very interesting business cases to make it worthwhile. But there are a few things that are in the pipeline which are really exciting.
And then the last question from Giuseppe, the sales and inventory forecast extension is not involved with Copilot.
No, that was actually kind of a typical forecasting mechanism based on the data, the ledger entries, but it's not involved in the Copilot. No.
Yeah, and guys, kind of with the Copilot, we are able to use AI kind of in a new way, where AI is able to use large language models to understand and capture certain things, right? Like something what is happening in the news portals, right? So kind of to recognize that that event is relevant, and then to kind of understand what that event is, and then to kind of relate in the data which is in the ERP systems. Besides that, we have already had a lot of different AI use cases which were there in the products for a while, and which we were able to already use, right? So kind of the large language models is expanding the possibilities where we can use AI, but it's not that AI is just coming to, the ERP systems and Dynamics and Power Platform. It was already there for many years, and then the Power BI AI Builder was introduced already in 2019. Yeah. All right, so the time is up. Thank you very much, guys, for your time. I hope that you have heard something what was of your interest, and if you will need to share the recording of this webinar, then just a reminder that you will get a link to the recording in a week's period that will be uploaded on YouTube, and you can share that with anyone you also like. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Linus. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.